All right.
The Kosovo Specialist Chambers is now in session.
Please be seated. Good morning. I see that we are in the same composition as yesterday. So I noted for the record, if that's sufficient. Sorry? Oh, yes, so please, could you announce the case? Sorry, I went too quick.
Good morning, Your Honor. This is case KSC BC 2020-05, the Specialist Prosecutor versus Salih Mustafa.
Thank you, Madam Court Officer. Then again, I think that we are in the same composition as yesterday. So I would refrain from repeating who's present here. However, for the record, I say that we are trial panel 1, of course, and that Judge Mikola is still participating remotely. We will continue today with the testimony of the defense witness 200, Mr. Brahim Mehmetai. Madam Court Usher, could you please usher the witness into the courtroom? Mr. Mehmetai, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes,
Doing?
I'm well, thank you.
Mr. Mehmetai, I remind you that you are still under oath to tell the truth. Yes, you understand that. And I will now give the floor to Madam Prosecutor. She will continue with her cross-examination. Madam Prosecutor, please proceed.
Thank you very much, Your Honors. Good morning, Mr. Mehmetai.
Good morning.
I have some photos that I would like to show you. Can I please have on the screens SPOE 00222-617? We can now see the photo on our screens. Photo. Did you ever seen it before?
I know the people on this photograph.
Okay. Can you tell us who these people are? We can start from the one kneeling towards the bottom part of the photo. Do you know who this person is?
I will start with the one kneeling. That is Agron.
When you know them.
I know him only by that name. I don't know his surname. Then the one with the blue cap is Salih Mustafa, and Fatmir Sopi is on the other side. That would be on the left side as I look at it. So it is Fatmir Sopi, Salih Mustafa, and Agron kneeling.
Do you know when this photograph was taken?
No.
Or where this photograph was taken?
No, I wasn't present. I don't know.
Can we please move to another photographs? SPOE 0022260. We now have the photograph on the screens. I have the same questions. Are you familiar with it? And do you recognize any of the people depicted in these photographs?
I think I know all of them, yes.
Can you please tell us their names, starting from the person kneeling at the bottom right-hand side of the photo?
Salih Mustafa is kneeling. Ahmet is Yusufi.
Sorry, just to...
As I'm sitting, on the right is Ahmet Yusufi. On the left is Salih Mustafa. Fatmir Sopi is standing, and the other person is somebody we called Shach. I don't remember his last name. He was from the Karadak operational zone, while Yusufi, he was the commander of Karadak operational zone.
And for the record, Fatmir Sopi is standing on the right side.
Yes, as I look at the photograph, he is on the right side, standing.
And again, do you know when the photograph was taken?
Of course, during the war, but when, I don't know. I wasn't there.
Okay. Can we move to another photograph, please? SPOE 002222600. Again, do you recognize any of the people in this photo? Do you know when or where it was taken?
On this photograph, I recognize a person in the middle.
Can we zoom in a little bit so that the people and the faces are more visible? Thank you. Okay. So you said you recognize the person in the middle?
May I continue? Yes, I know the person in the middle, that's Salih Mustafa. On the left is Barigashi, as far as I remember, and the other person, I don't know.
Mustafa, right?
Në të majtë Salih Mustafa.
On the left of Salih Mustafa is Bari Gashi.
Okay. And I understand you said you don't know the person on the right, right?
Jo, prej kësaj
From this photograph, I don't recognize him.
Let's please move to another photograph, SPOE 002222631. We're still waiting for the photograph to appear. Again, if we can zoom in, the quality of this photograph is not very clear. But again, can you tell us if you recognize anyone, if it's possible, and if you know when this photograph was taken?
Because of the quality of the photo, I can recognize Salih, the commander, but the rest I don't know them. And to tell you the truth, I cannot see them properly on this photograph. It's an old photograph, probably made during the beginning of the war, but I cannot say who they are.
Can we please move to SPOE 002222642? Again, are you familiar with this photo? Did you ever seen it before? Do you recognize the people in it?
po,
Yes. On the right, sitting down, is Salih. Barigashi is on the left. On the right, standing, Isuf Shalaku, responsible for logistics, and the person on the left standing, I don't remember, I don't know him.
Okay. Is it sufficient for recognition purposes, for your honor? Do you know when this photo was taken?
kur është bo nuk e di.
I don't know when it was taken. I believe during the war, but from what is depicted on the photograph in the background, it could be somewhere in the mountains in Butovsk.
And why do you think, do you believe that it was taken during the war?
Po për shkak të uniformës,
Because of the uniforms and weapons, of course, this could not have been taken after the war.
Okay. Just a clarification also, because I see that the name wasn't captured. You mentioned Yusuf Shalaku.
Shalaku.
Shalaku, yes.
And you said he was responsible for logistics. Do you mean responsible for logistics in BIA?
på kyrkoavretsa.
Yes, he led the logistics sector of BIA.
Okay, thank you. Let's move to another photo. I have two more and then
Okay.
we're done. SPOE 002222695. Now that we see the photo on the screens, do you recognize any of these people?
På Västholmmäst.
It's the first time I'm looking at this photo. Apart from the person in the middle, the other two I don't know. The one in the middle is Salih Mustafa Salih.
Okay. I have just one more photo, which is a more recent one, SPOE 002222548. And this is a more recent photo with you and other KLA associates, right? Can you tell us who you recognize in the photo?
Povestni personi që mu
Except for one whose name I don't know exactly. The rest I know it's Adem Shehu, Fatmir Humoli. If I'm not mistaken, that person's first name is Avni. I don't know his last name.
Excuse me, could we indicate more specifically who is who?
Yes, Your Honor, I was going into that. So if we start from the left-hand side of the photo, the first person that we see is Salih Mustafa, right?
på Salih Mustafa.
Yes, Salih Mustafa. Then it's me. In the middle is Adem Shehu sitting.
Or, yes, in the middle of the table, you said, is Adem Shehu.
Po, edhe nga ona majt.
Yes, and on the left is Fatmir Sobi. That is Fatmir Humoli. I apologize. And this other person, I think his first name is Avni, and I don't remember his last name.
Okay, and you mean the person who appears in front of the photo on the right side?
Po në kryet fotos në të gjatë.
Yes, in front of the photo on the right side.
Do you know, do you remember when this photo was taken?
Po mund të jetë para 2 vite.
It could be 2 years ago. I don't know exactly. We met accidentally and we sat together.
Okay. Okay, Your Honors, I'll move to the last area of my cross-examination. Mr. Mekmetai, yesterday you testified that you have been in Slash only twice during the war. This is a page of yesterday's official transcript, 23rd of March, page 2635, and then again 2653. in order to go through this clarification, Your Honors, I will have to summarize what the witness said. I will give references.
Very
So-
well. Just a small reminder, Madam Prosecutor, that could you wait for the interpretation to finish before you start speaking? Would be very much appreciated. Thank you.
Of course, Your Honors, thank you for the reminder. So I'll proceed slowly, Mr. McMetai. So please try to follow my summary of what was said yesterday, so that then we can move to my questions. So about the 2 times that you've been in Slash during the war, you told us yesterday, you testified, that the first time was when you went there with the Flora Brovina to take some supplies, transcript page 2635. This time you went by the asphalt road, Pristina Grasticcia, then reaching Slash, page 2635. You went to the headquarters of Brigade 153, page 2650. You did not stay long. You left the materials and supplies and returned to Pristina with Flora Brovina on the same day, page 2636. Do you remember having testified about this yesterday?
Oh.
Yes.
Now, the second time you told us, the second time you went to Slash was, you said, sometime in March, April. This was a page 2640, when you went to meet your friend Isa Castrati, transcript page 2635. The second time you walked for a part of the road, then continued by tractor, page 2636. And when you were asked to specify the time frame in relation to the death of Isa Castrati, which happened on 21st April 1999, you testified. I'm not very sure, but it might have been 2 weeks before, so 2 weeks before the 21st of April. This is at page 2649, line 15. About what you did on the second occasion, you said that you met Isa Castrati at the safe house that Bia had in Slash, page 2641, and you recognized, in fact, this location on a photo that the defense counsel showed to you, page 2650. The meeting lasted 3 to 4 hours, and then you left on the same day, page 2649. You said you saw civilians and other soldiers there. You spoke to some families, page 2655. You didn't notice anything else, no guarded rooms, and on this occasion, you did not see Salih Mustafa there, page 2652. Do you remember having testified as to this detail of the second time you went to Slash?
Paul.
Yes.
Thank you for your patience. Let me clarify the account that you gave during the SPO interview. And with the leave of the panel, Your Honors, I would like to put to the witness some excerpts from his prior interview with the SPO.
You may proceed.
I will be referring to pages from part 3 of the SPO interview of 23 January 2020, ERN 072957, TRET, and I think it's better to bring these pages up. Okay, so let's first have page 13 of part 3. I will need to look at line 14 and following. Mr. Mekmetai, I will be reading this excerpt. However, as you said yesterday, you can navigate for yourself onto the English transcript. You can also follow on the screen once I give the specific references. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. So I will actually read, well, yes, let's start from line 14. I will be reading. Your answer, you said, I mentioned earlier that I went twice in Slash. Once I went here, and once I went to the house of Sahid. It will be clear as we continue reading that the first time you said I went here, you were referring to the Biasef house, but let's go through the transcript. So then the question of the prosecutor was, right, okay, so the first time that you went to Slash, when was that? Your answer, it was before the offensive. I don't know, it was March time. Then I continue reading the last line, line 25, and the prosecutor asked you, what reason did you go to Slash for then? Can we have the next page, page 14, please? I'm reading lines 1 and 2. Your answer was, the reason why I went to Slash was to meet up with my friends. I also met with Isa Castrati. I'm mentioning his name because this is a sensitive topic for me. He's an old friend from childhood, and he's someone that I enrolled with the KLA as well. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay. So during the SPO interview, you said that the first time you went to Slash was in March, and that was the time when you went there to meet Isa Castrati. Yesterday, you told us that this time when you met Isa Castrati was actually the second time you went to Slash, and that this second time was in April and about 2 weeks before the 21st of April. So my question was, did your memory get better between the interview to the SPO in January 2020 and yesterday, or the time also when you gave the defense statement?
De onsdag
I could have mixed up because the time of my interview with the prosecutor, we are talking about March, April. So maybe I could have given a mistaken time during the interview, but here I think that is true because I want to be true and accurate before the court.
Okay, let me continue so that we can clarify a bit more. On that occasion, when talking about this first time you went to Slash, or anyway, the time you went to Slash to visit Isa Castrati, you were also asked what was happening in the rest of the house. So I want to read that part. I will be reading from page 15, so if we can please move to the next page of the same part 3. And I will be reading from line 6. The question of the prosecutor was, did you enter the property? Your answer, yes. As I mentioned earlier, I entered there. Question? All right. And what part of it? You said Bia occupied 2 rooms, stayed in 2 rooms. Line 12. Line 11, you said yes, stayed, so Bia stayed in 2 rooms. Line 12, the question of the prosecutor, right? And what was happening in the rest of the house? Line 13, your answer. To be honest, it wasn't in my interest to know. You remember that?
I'm reading it now, but of course it's as it says there.
Now, let's read also what you said about the second time you were in Slash. It's the next page of part 3, page 16. And I will start from line 14. So, the question of the prosecutor, right? Now, the second occasion you went to Slash, when was that? Line 16, your answer, this was after the offensive. Line 18, I think it was after the offensive. I'm not sure about the month, but I think it was May. I went to Sahid's house because there, recovering, were 2 friends of mine and a soldier. You also explain, right? Do you remember that?
Oh.
Okay.
Yes.
This is a different account that you gave compared to yesterday. During the SPO interview, you said that the second time you went to Slash was in May, when you went to Sahid's house. Yesterday, you did not mention this episode at all. You also explained in detail during the SPO interview this visit. If we look at page 17, please. I will be reading from line 13. The prosecutor asked you, and how long did you spend in Slash on that second occasion? Line 14, your answer, I don't believe that I stayed there long because there wasn't enough space there. And even if I wanted to stay there longer, there wasn't space in there. There wasn't enough room. I had to go back because Sabit Krasniqi was in a serious situation. So I had to go back in order to find the doctor, to take the doctor so he could perform a surgery in order to remove this grenade from Sabit's body. And so we managed to ensure a doctor, and we took the doctor who managed to perform the surgery and saved Sabit's life. And then you also give the name of the doctor. So this is a very specific account that you gave. You went into the details of this second visit, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Let me put you the following to see if you agree or if we find an explanation. Before we do that, actually, like one more point. During the SPO interview, you were asked specifically about the month of April 1999 and about your movements during that month. And again, you gave a specific account about that. I will call up the transcript, and you never mentioned Slash. So let's look at page 16. Sorry, this time I need part 4. the same transcript, 072957, TRET, part 4, page 16. Yes, page 16, lines 17 to 23. So now it's a part of the interview when the prosecutor is asking you questions about your movement. Line 16. Okay. And during, I mean, what were your movements during the 1st of April up until the offensive on or about the 19th of April 1999? So you are asked here about a very specific time frame, which includes the 2 weeks before the death of Isa Castrati on the 21st of April 1999. The question goes on, I'm reading from line 19. So where were you? Your answer, line 20. I was in Butovc, in Pristina, mainly in Pristina. I was in Butovc, in Pristina, in Butovc, but I was mainly in Pristina. Question of the prosecutor, line 22. Were you also in Mramor? Line 23. Yes, I went sometimes to Mramor. You said the same on the next page, if we want to move to page 17. Lines 4 to 13, there are again some questions about April 1999 and the fact that you replied you were in Mramor. Now, I'm going to suggest to you an explanation for the inconsistencies that we saw in your statements or for the different accounts that we went through. And I'll give you an opportunity to respond and to comment about it. So let's see if you agree. So when you were interviewed by the SPO, this is again January 2020, you were interviewed as a suspect. You knew that Salih Mustafa, Commander Ubia, was also interviewed as a suspect before you, November 2019. We saw that yesterday. You had communicated with each other numerous times. And as a consequence, you gave this account that we discussed to the SPO, that you were in Slash in March, in May. You never mentioned April. What would you say to that?
First of all, I don't agree with your statement at all that we met with Salih and discussed the interview he had with the prosecutor and the statement he had made. That's not true. We met up with each other naturally as friends, but we didn't discuss that topic. What statement I gave to the prosecutor was on the basis of the knowledge I had, and perhaps I forgot some details because of the circumstances of the time. A long time had passed since those events had happened, so I couldn't remember. Sometimes people cannot remember things that happened the previous day, let alone 20 years ago. So maybe I forgot a name of a person or a place name, but I don't agree with what you suggested to me.
You were specifically asked about your movements in April 1999 and no mention of Slash. Were you trying to distance yourself from what happened there in April 1999?
There was no reason for me to try to distance myself, but I remember that the prosecutor was insisting. He was, I don't want to use the word pressure, but the prosecutor insisted in asking me, have you been to Mramor? Have you been to Mramor? Did you go to Mramor? And that's why I gave the answer. There are other places that I mentioned, such as Shalvan and other places, but I don't see them here in this statement.
Sorry. Well, just one issue about procedure, simply because I was there too and I remember. If we look at, actually maybe there's no need to bring it up, but I will just refer to the transcript. In part 4 of the same interview, 072957, this is towards the end of the interview, you were asked a number of procedural questions regarding the way the interview was conducted. One of your answers was, well, the question of the prosecutor was, can you confirm that you've given the statement voluntarily, that you were not threatened or forced in any way to do so? And you confirmed that. But you also added, and I would like to thank you for the correctness of these proceedings, of this interview. So are you now saying something different?
Jo, nuk thash.
No. I still respect Andrew Carney and his behavior towards me at the time, but there was an insistence on the part of the prosecutor. And you can see it for yourselves in the interview, how many times the question was asked, have you been to Mramor? Have you been to Mramor? I told the truth to the prosecutor at the time, and I'm telling the truth here in front of the panel. I want justice to be done.
Mr. McMitai. So I'll give you again, I'll put you again another explanation, and then we'll see what your answer is to that. So this is the account you gave, the situation back then during the SPO interview. Then what happens later on? Later on, Mr. Mustafa was indicted, he was arrested, and you were not. You were called as a defense witness. Yesterday also you told us that you read the indictment several days after Mr. Mustafa's arrest, that you were aware of the dates, of the locations, of the names in the indictment. This is at page 2702 of yesterday's transcript. So by the time you gave the statement to the defense, first in February 2021, and then in August 2021, when for the first time you mentioned the period of April 1999, by then you were aware of the dates of the charges in the indictment against Salih Mustafa, right? That's what you told us yesterday. You were aware of the indictment and its details. So,
Yes. Yes, it's correct that I was aware, but the information that I had was not only on the basis of the indictment that you published on your webpage, but also on the basis of what the prosecutor told me.
so now let me see. Again, I'll put you an explanation, and I'll give you the opportunity to comment and explain. So did you, later on, so after Mr. Mustafa's arrest, did you change your account because you tried to give evidence favorable to your friend Salih Mustafa about what you saw or what you did not see in Slash in April 1999, by placing yourself there at some point?
Pentru al procuror,
Madam Prosecutor, I am here under oath, and I am aware that the truth that I'm telling here will contribute to establishing justice. So I'm trying to tell the truth here, to be as truthful as I can about everything I know. That's all I can say about this.
Okay, Mr. McMetai, then let me ask you, did you change your account and remembered more or less details about your visits to Slash? Because in fact, you've been in Slash several times, not just the 2 times that you told us, right?
This time that is mentioned here was towards the end of the war, and this was something that I did. I went from Butovcu there, I met the injured, and I don't know what implication this has for the story. This is the truth of what I knew, and this is the truth that I'm telling before you, before the defense lawyer, and before the panel.
Okay, so now we understand that you actually been in Slash at least 3 times, including the one in May that you told the prosecutors of the SPO, right?
I explained that, okay, this was the 3rd time, but that time I went there for very quickly. There were injured people, wounded people there, and we were trying to help with medical assistance. But there was no reason for me not to mention that earlier or to hide that fact. I don't think this bears any weight in the scheme of things.
Metai, were you in fact in Slash often in April 1999? More than just 2 or 3 times?
Madam Prosecutor, I said that in March and April I mentioned the times when I was there, and I mentioned that in relation to the time when Isakra Stati was killed. In April, I was there only once. What I also stated earlier.
Let me put this to you, Mr. McMetai. You participated to the arrest of some of the people who were taken to the detention room in Slash, didn't you?
This is a lie. The lie of the year. I don't know when this was said, but it's the biggest lie that's been said, because I've never participated in any arrest anywhere, not in Slash, nor anywhere else in Kosovo.
Let me put this also to you. You participated to the mistreatment of the detainees that were held in the detention room in Slash at the Bia safe house, didn't you?
Not only was I not aware of any detention or any people being detained or imprisoned, I think these are all lies by people who have a certain agenda. I am here before justice, and I I will say with full responsibility that I never took part in any such events or any such happenings.
Finally, let me also put to you that you participated to the release of some of the detainees held at the BIA base in Slash when the Serb offensive began on or about the 18th of the 19th of April, didn't you? 1999.
I take full responsibility here, legal, criminal, whatever responsibility you want. When I say that I was not there, I did not participate in any such things, I did not do those actions. These are all lies by people who have a certain agenda. And I propose to Your Honor to deal with those people who spread such lies.
Your Honors, I think I don't have further questions, but I will ask for your indulgence for a couple of minutes so that I double check.
Microphone for the...
Far over the 15 minutes we agreed on yesterday. Please proceed with discussing with your colleagues.
Yes, Your Honors, I don't have further questions. Also, I apologize for having taken a bit longer than 15 minutes, but I had to. I prefer to read the transcript rather than just to summarize them. So I appreciate your indulgence.
Now, I don't want to enter in the way you do your cross-examination. Let that be clear. That's for all participants, for all parties and the participant in these proceedings. It's just that I would like to know beforehand for reasons of management. That's the most important thing. But thank you.
Your Honors. Thank you. Then thank you, Mr. Mehmetai. That concludes my questions.
Thank you.
Victims' Counsel, you have the floor for questioning.
Thank you very much, Your Honours, and good morning. Good morning, Mr. Mehmetai. My name is Annie Poos. I'm the Victims' Counsel, and I have a few questions following up on some of the things and the information that you have provided here. And for the panel, I was able to actually reduce my questions that I noted down earlier, so it shouldn't take too long.
Take your time, Victims' Counsel, let that be said.
Yes,
that is
thank
for
you
everybody
very much.
here.
I do appreciate that. Now, Mr. Mehmetai, you explained yesterday multiple times that BIA worked along 4 different sectors, or had 4 different areas of work that they were focusing on, and one of them was information gathering. You explained in this context, for example, how you made sketches and reports about enemy barracks, and for reference, that's yesterday's transcript, page 22, lines 1/4 following. Were you personally part of these information gathering efforts?
Yo personally.
No, not personally.
In the interview that you gave the defense, and I'm referring there to the first part of the defense interview on page 3 at the top, I've read that you described it to the defense as, or that you said to the defense, all groups worked to collect information. So when reading that and having listened to you, is it correct to assume that information gathering was a collective effort within BIA?
Yes, I explained earlier, and I'll explain again. It was it happened like this. A task was passed on to Salih Mustafa by the general staff to make a note of all the enemy bases, the police and army bases. I received this information, I received this task, and I gave it to other people, and those people went and carried out the task on the ground. They made sketches, they made notes, they passed the notes on to us, and then they were sent to the general staff.
How did you communicate that? Did you have, for example, any communication technology, any aids such as telephones, satellite telephones, mobile phones, any such thing?
Yes, we had three types of devices, mobile phones. In Pristina, there was a mobile operator at the time that we used. We also used satellite telephones and also radio communications.
Mr. Mehmetai. Then let me move on to one other specific point, also again going back to what we heard yesterday, and there just to provide the context, and I want to go to the situation when airstrikes in Pristina started, and that's page 29 of yesterday's transcript from line 15. You described that BIA members went to their neighborhoods and then got their own vehicles. One got his tractor, another got his car, and so they filled them with food supplies and went to Butovsk. So do I understand this correctly, that from this point onwards you had those vehicles, tractor, car, all those things you described, for BIA's disposal in Butovsk?
Yeah.
No. They went from Butovsk to their on foot, and then they took the cars, their personal vehicles. There were people who had tractors, cars, and they took them.
Understood. They took them, and then what happened after they've taken them? Did they keep those cars?
As far as I remember, there was one personal vehicle and a tractor. And they took some flour and some other food supplies that they could find there, some blankets, and brought them to Brutovsk. They also sent some to Mramor, to the families that had been displaced and were sheltering there.
Okay, thank you very much. Those were my questions.
Thank you.
Mr. Van Bonnet, you may proceed with the redirect examination of the witness.
Mr. Witness, I would like to get back to an issue that was mentioned yesterday, and for the sake of clarity, I would like to pull up your number 072957 TRET Part 4. It is the issue about people being stopped, and there was the transcript yesterday, page 77, line 8, and page 82, line 11. And maybe we could blow it up. Let me see. Part 4. That's page 1. Could we move to page 5, please? Yes. So, yesterday this issue came up, and the question was answered by UF. I have information. I obtained this information. Let me go a little bit earlier. The question is, and I will read it from line 12, if you read with me. So Albanian collaborators were being detained in locations like La Pastica, Baigora, but were there Albanian suspected collaborating being detained in Zlaj? And then your answer was, I have information. I obtained this information after the war. Then in Zlaj there was a room where people would be stopped. Okay, so I do not want to get into the issue of collaborator because I think that was covered yesterday. I just wanted to know about this particular information. Do you know how this information came to you? In the sense that, was this discussed with anybody, or was it going around, or was it published, or what kind of information are we actually talking about?
I tried to explain it yesterday. This was something I heard from what was being said. There's no concrete person or a concrete subject that was discussed with somebody in particular. It was just words that I heard from sources. I know that I heard that information at the time, but to define it precisely from where, from the who, that I don't know.
So, do I understand it like this, that you could not verify this information as being real or truthful or whatever?
Defense counsel, you are not making a summary now from what he is saying.
No, it's a question that I have.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so not a summary, it's a question.
No, this is a question.
I didn't go on to verify this at the time either because I knew these were words being said with a special agenda. So I didn't go on to verify this information.
And then the question was, or no, you said people would be stopped. Now, my question on that issue is, was there anybody with the authority to stop people in that area? And I'm speaking about the Slash area. Was there anybody who had actually authority or who was in charge of security or anyway, anybody who had the authority to stop people?
Defense counsel, I would like to clarify first the word stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we are now talking about authority for security issues and authority to stop. But
Okay, that's.
could you ask him? No, I don't know. Maybe I have seen the transcript and I know how he explained it, the word stop, but I prefer that you first ask him what he meant with stopped, and then you can rephrase the question. And if not, I can put the question. Defense counsel, I will put the question. Mr. Mehmetai, what do you mean in in the transcript with the word stopped? What sort of people would be stopped? What do you mean with the word stopped?
I was not familiar with this subject at the time. The word stopped or detained means when you stop someone for certain reasons.
Sorry, do you mean that the word stop means the same as detained?
To stop or detain, in my opinion, is when you stop someone for certain reasons. I will not say here they were detained because that I don't know, but stop would mean you stop someone for given reasons, for particular reasons.
If you stop somebody, because for me it's really not clear what you do with the person if you stop him. Do you stop him? You say, stop, you cannot walk further?
Yes, it has that meaning too, Your Honor. But now maybe we are talking about stopped by the police or of someone who is doing something in contravention with the law. So in that sense.
Then in Slush, there was a room where people would be stopped. Yeah. What do you mean then there with the word stopped? Brought there?
I said what I heard from sources that are not verified. So I only told what I heard from those sources. I'm not running away from any responsibilities, but I'm just recounting here the circumstances of the time and how it was in real terms.
We are making circles. I don't want to get into the subject of that you got this information from who. That's something I leave to the defense counsel. My only question is here, what do you mean with the word stop?
With the word stop, I mean the persons who are authorized to stop someone who is suspected of doing something unlawful or of committing a certain breach.
If I gave the synonyms
A microphone.
that people were held, would that be, in this case, a good way of giving another word?
Edhe mund ta ketë atë
It can have that synonym, but I here spoke in the context on what I heard. You can interpret it as stop or held, but my explanation is that authorized persons who have such competencies can stop persons who commit unlawful acts, and those persons then are being held by those authorized persons.
Mr. Mehmoudai.
And do you know if there were people in Slash or who were operating there who had the authority to stop people? And I use the word stop because in your answer you just say that you have obtained information about people who would be stopped. So I do not interpret that word. So my question is, do you know if anybody in the area of Slash who was operating there would have the authority to stop people?
unë për drejtim
For the truth, and I said this during the interview as well, this is what I heard from unverified sources. I never had any official information that someone was stopped or detained, and I didn't have any such knowledge. But now I will give you my answer. Within the structure of BIA, there was not a single person who had authority or competence to stop or to organize detentions of any person. The BIA guerrilla unit did not have territorial authority or competencies. It didn't have any area controlled. It didn't have any security mechanisms or personnel that would evaluate what to do. The BIA had those sectors that I explained earlier and functioned within those sectors.
Okay. And then my question is, do you know if anybody within Brigade 153 would have such authority to stop people or detain people?
jo, nuk e di këtë.
No, this I don't know.
Do you know if in that context within Brigade 153 there was some person in charge of security of the brigade or security of the area or
Nuk e di unë specifikisht.
I don't know specifically, but they had a zone structure, brigade structure and responsibilities, but I don't know specifically this security aspect that you're mentioning.
if there was part of the Brigade 153 an section like military police or law enforcement, so to speak?
Po gjitha brigadat që kanë
Every brigade, 151, 152, 153, they all had within them the military police structure, and I'm saying based on the organizational structure of the brigades.
Okay. Then I would like to move on to some other issue. Yesterday, a number of specific people were mentioned by the SPO, and I would like to go through a couple of them again. First of all, and that is in the transcript, page 111, line 1, about a person called Bari, and that person, Bari, you said about him that he operated in Albania, and after the death of Isa, he became he took the place of Isa as assistant commander or deputy commander or assistant, whatever. That is correct?
exact.
And
Yes, correct.
I agree.
excuse me?
And,
Oh.
Defense counsel, please cite exactly what has been said
Yes.
in order to make it clear for the witness
Yes.
what
Well,
he said yesterday,
it
in
is in
order not to
that-
confuse him.
Yes. In order to avoid to recount everything again, but it is page 111, line 1, where this particular person comes in. And the question was asked, was he a member of BIA? And just to be clear, was he a member of BIA?
Po, ka qenë.
Yes, he was.
Where actually did that person operate for BIA?
Ai person pasi që është kthy
Upon his return from Albania, he operated in Pristina within the guerrilla unit and then took up duties after the death of Isa Castrati. So he took up the duty of Salih's deputy or assistant and went to Sharban and all other locations where it was necessary. I don't know his exact movement, but he went there where there was a need to go.
But I want on this particular person to be a little bit more specific, because you said he operated in Pristina or around Pristina. Did you actually meet him in or near Pristina?
mund ta kenë taku në Prishtinë.
It could be that I've met him in Pristina.
To give that time frame, let's say roughly indicating from the NATO bombings, which we know are the 24th of March 1999. So in the time frame after that, could you indicate where or what occasion and in which period you would see him?
Unë besoj e kam taku
I believe I met him in May, as far as I remember, in Pristina. When I say Pristina, it's near my neighborhood, a bit further up from my neighborhood.
Did you ever meet him in Butovs, where you were staying yourself?
Nuk kom kujtohet në veti, vetëm
I don't remember. Could be, but I don't remember.
For what sector he then would operate within the BIA?
nga I ka qenë zavendës.
He was Salih's deputy, and he was not in charge of any of the sectors, as far as I know.
I understand, but you said that he took up the position of Salih's deputy, obviously after the death of Mr. Isa Castrati. But I just want to make sure, the period before, because you said he came from Albania and came to Pristina, and I wonder in what area of operations was he then operating before he became the deputy?
Pa I ka qenë pjesë e një njësitë.
He was part of the unit of his neighborhood, but in which area he particularly operated, that I don't know. He was part of his neighborhood unit. I assume he was part of logistics efforts, but I wouldn't know that for sure. I did not read his entire biography. And
Do you know approximately actually when he arrived from Albania to Kosovo?
Nuk kom kujtohet me saktësi.
I don't remember exactly when, but I think he joined the war quite later, but I cannot pinpoint the exact time period.
I would put a reference of the NATO bombing of the 24th of March. Would you know it would be before, or would it be after, or would it be much longer after? If that is of
Ja,
any
mund të
help.
ketë qenë para.
Could be before, but again, I wouldn't know exactly. I did not have much contact with him.
Thank you. Then another person's name that was mentioned was Tabut or Tabuti. That is in the transcript, page 110, line 4, yesterday's transcript. That person, you said he was a BIA member, right?
Po,
Yes.
Yes.
His area of operations.
po në Prishtinë ky.
In Pristina, to my knowledge, I don't have much information about this one either. It was a part of the town where I did not have very frequent contact with the people there. He operated within his neighborhood's unit, so this is how he operated, to what I know.
Do you could you help us maybe knowing in which neighborhood that would be of Pristina?
Po ka qenë kohë
He was in Kodra e Trimave.
If we is that west, north, east, or south Pristina? Or
është rrugë që çon në
It's on the road to Podujev.
Vranjes, po të ishit.
It used to be called Vranjevc, that neighborhood.
The other person that you knew, which was page 103, line 18 of yesterday's transcript, was Dardan as a BIA member. Correct? Yes.
Yes.
Would his area of operations be?
Dardani.
in Dardani, in Pristina, Dardania neighborhood of Pristina.
Do you know for which sector he would operate there in Dardania?
He was also part of a unit, and I don't know exactly in which sector he operated.
Did you actually ever meet him in Butovsk, where you were at some point staying?
No, I don't remember meeting him there.
Elsewhere?
In Pristina, once. When he came, I know he came with two women. He brought some medical equipment, some bandages in Velani, in the center where we were collecting aid. So that's where I met him.
And this person, when was that you met him or came with this material?
It was early before the airstrikes. Could be end of 1998, but it was before the airstrikes. I don't have the exact time of the meeting in my head.
Defense Counsel?
Yes.
How much time do you think that you will still need?
Yeah, this part we could finish before 11. It's just the names, and then I would like to touch upon some other topics. So
I don't hear you.
sorry. I can finish before 11 with the people of the that I want to speak about. Just a number of them.
How much your rejoinder will take?
I think it would take a maximum amount of 15, 20 minutes maybe.
Okay. Then we are going to stop at 11 because if we would only need a little bit of time, we have only one session today.
Yes.
So then you may finish really before 11, and then we will wrap up, and we will have to continue on Monday with this witness.
Okay.
And Madam Prosecutor, would you have still questions?
No, Your Honors, not at this point.
Not at this point. Okay. And for the Victims' Counsel?
No, we won't have any further questions, thanks.
Okay. If you say that you would have you would need 15, 20 minutes, would that be really 15, 20 minutes? Because I can ask.
I can't say that.
Because now I can ask the interpreters if we would be allowed to have another 15 minutes, but I cannot go over the time.
Yeah, I suggest it would be better to stop. I finish this part, and then we have.
Okay. But then you realize that we are having the witness for the coming 4 days till Monday,
Yes.
for this 15,
Yeah.
or would it be in half an hour? No, what I want to
think
make
so,
clear,
but
if I can
maybe
make.
the panel has questions too. So
Um,
I don't want to.
We know where we stand. It's for us enough that you
Yeah.
give me your
Yeah.
estimation,
Well,
and
I
then
would
I do
say-
the rest of the estimation.
Honestly, I think it would be more than 20 minutes then, probably half an hour. Or so. Yeah.
Okay, but can you give me an estimation, Defense Counsel?
45 minutes. It's just that I'm trying to see what the topics are like. So that is what it is.
We are inquiring if we can add some time in order not to impose this on the witness. Meantime, Defense Counsel, can you proceed with the names?
Yes. About Ilmi Vela, that is page 110, line 4. It was the person that you said was...
Defense
also-
Counsel, we
yes.
talked about this in private. You might consider asking the witness if he wants to go into private session again.
Would you want to speak with this about this person in private session?
Nëse avokati drejton
If the lawyer would lead the same questions which I answered, there's no need. But if he needs any additional information, then we could. But there is no particular reason to go into private session.
For the sake of it, going to private session.
I only want to go into private session if it's really necessary.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's not for the sake of we have public who want to follow. So,
Okay.
but it's your
Ilmi
evaluation,
Vela, yes.
Defense Counsel. It's your
Yes.
assessment.
Yes. I will just continue in the public session, Your Honor. Ilmi Vela spoke about yesterday, the person was dismissed. Do you actually know, do you recall when Mr. Mustafa told you this?
Unë nuk e kam të qartë.
I'm not clear about the exact time, but it is most probably after the war.
What was the area of operations of this person, Ilmi Vela?
Edhe ai ka vepru një
He too operated in the guerrilla unit in Kodra e Trimave neighborhood. As far as I know, that's from where he's from.
And did you meet him in the period of time that
jo.
you were...
No,
Jo, s'jam taku me ta.
no, I did not meet him anywhere at any time, and this is what I said earlier.
And the SPO asked you today or told you, so to speak, that when the SBO interviewed you, you were interviewed as a suspect, and that Salih Mustafa was a suspect, and that you were aware of that. Don't have the reference, Your Honor, but
You will provide the panel with it later,
Yes.
please.
my question is actually, did that make the fact that you were a suspect, or that Mr. Mustafa was a suspect, did that make for you any difference in answering the questions to the SBO?
I nuk bante dallim nëse për kuptoj.
It didn't make a difference if I understood your question correctly. The answers that I gave were realistic to what I knew and to what I remembered about the time. And although I didn't find it right or correct, the form of the capacity we were summoned for the interview.
And in part 3 of the SBO interview, and that is 072957 TRET, page 13 and line 14, which was discussed earlier on. It was about, and I summarize it, that it was about your times that you would go, or you went to Slash. And one time was at the Bia Safe House, and the other time was at the house of Salih. Now, my question is, you stated that truthfully to the SBO, and was this a trip that you left out on purpose when you spoke to the SBO? The visit to the house of Salih?
Unë nuk udhëhiqem me këto që po i thoni ju, i nderuar avokat.
I'm not governed by what you're saying, respected lawyer. I'm not saying something on purpose or without purpose. Maybe there is a mixture due to the fact that long time has passed, more than 20 years, but there's no other reason or need to hide a given reality.
And did it make for you any difference when you spoke to the SBO, or whether you spoke here in court about those occasions? Whether you were having the status of a suspect or having the status of a witness? Did that make for you any difference in telling what you had to tell?
Personalisht si njeri që udhëhiqem.
Personally, as a person, I'm led by the truth and I don't make any distinction. But the distinction was in itself at the time I was interviewed in the capacity of a suspect, and here I am a witness under oath, and I'm here to tell you the truth and nothing but the truth.
Did you in any way tell anything at the time when you gave the interview to the SPO or during the days that you were here? Did you say anything that you would say would be in favor of Mr. Mustafa and not being the truth?
Sigurisht që jam I vetëdijshëm që marr pozicion.
Of course, I'm aware that I'm responsible for what I'm saying here, and what I said here is true. I'm not saying what I'm saying here just to help my friend. I'm telling the truth and speaking about things that I know from the time. And in the interview as well, I said things that will contribute to justice. To tell you the truth, I never believed that there will be an indictment against us after my interview with the SPO, because I had the conviction that the SPO had realized the truth and the reality.
Another issue was that you were aware or read the indictment of Mr. Mustafa. Were there any names that came into that indictment that were familiar to you?
Defense counsel, I think that the SPO has gone through all the names and you have been going through the names again. So this is, for me, a repetitive question, so I won't allow it.
Did you read a redacted version of the indictment, or were there clearly names appearing to you in the document that you read?
Yes, se kuptova pyetjen, fakt.
I didn't understand the question, sorry.
Whether you had read the indictment of Mr. Mustafa?
Po.
Yes?
You did, and in that indictment, when you read it, were the names in that indictment redacted, or what was actually the document that you read?
Ja.
Look, I told the prosecution and the panel, I read the document that was published on the webpage of the specialist chambers, and that was redacted. I don't know what the redacted parts were about, of course.
Defense counsel,
Yes?
we have been, and that's also for everybody present in the courtroom, we have been given time till 12, so I want to propose that we have a 5 minutes break just for everything that is needed, and then really come back as soon as possible. So I call it 5 minutes, it might be 7, but that's it, yeah?
Can
So,
maybe your
Okay.
is it possible then for Mr. Mustafa to stay in the courtroom?
I leave that to security, what they think is best. Mr. Megmeitai, we're going to have a break for 5 minutes. Madame Court Usher will usher you out, but in 5 minutes we will be back. Okay.
Fakt jest.
Thank you.
The hearing is adjourned.
All rise. All right.
Please be seated. And as to the appearances, we are in the same position except for the victims' counsel. Please, you have the floor.
Yes, that's correct. She had to leave, I'm afraid.
Okay, thank you. But it's good that you are here, so the victims are represented. Very well. Defense counsel, you have the floor. Oh no, you have not the floor. Please. Welcome back, Mr. Mehmetai.
Farmdiert, Miss.
Thank you.
Continue with his questions. Please, you have the floor, Defense Counsel.
Thank you very much. We will not use all that time, Your Honor. We will wrap it up soon. Mr. Mehmetai, the prosecutor earlier asked you, or put it to you, that you participated in the mistreatment of people. My question is, did you ever hear about the fact whether people were mistreated at all?
I say it with full responsibility that I never participated in any ill treatment. I did not hear of any.
And the prosecutor put it to you that you participated in the release of people that were detained. And my question, I have two questions on it. Do you know at all whether there were people released?
With the proviso that there might have been some false statement made by somebody here, I would like to say here that I haven't heard of anybody being detained, ill-treated or released, and I say this with full responsibility.
And did Mr. Mustafa ever tell you that he knew about people that would have been released at some point?
No, never.
Ever order you to mistreat or maltreat?
No, no.
Did he ever order you to arrest somebody?
No, never.
Could you please change your pace and talk a little bit more slow in order for the interpreters to keep up?
Have you ever heard of anybody being killed in Salih?
Yes, I heard about that after the war.
What did you hear about that?
I heard after the war about a person that was killed during the war, and I don't know whether he was a soldier or a civilian. That's what I heard.
You ever that person, have you ever seen that person or have had any contact with that person?
Defense counsel, should we go into private at this point?
I
just
don't think
to-
so, Your Honor.
Okay.
I never saw him. Didn't know him. I never saw him ever in my life.
For my understanding, how can the witness answer the question that he has not seen him ever if he has not seen that? He says, I don't know whether he was a soldier or a civilian, so he doesn't know who it is, so he cannot say anything about it. Also not that he has seen him. So I don't understand the question.
Yeah. Well, it is clear that there is no.
Yeah.
No
But also for
relation
you, that if you ask a
whatsoever.
question, it must
So-
make sense.
And I think that it is clear that whatever the name of that person is, that person was not in any kind of relation with the witness.
That was not
And
the point of
lastly-
my question, defense counsel.
Yes.
But please proceed.
Have you ever heard of people from BIA, members of BIA, ever maltreat anybody?
En hoe kwam het zo als
I have never heard about any such thing until I read the indictment that was compiled by the prosecution. When I read it in the indictment, I was really surprised because that's not the reality. That's an untruth.
I didn't catch the last part.
wat dat precies is?
Would you like me to repeat? I never heard about any such thing until I read the indictment prepared by the prosecution, where they mentioned that a group of soldiers had taken part in torturing and people and so on. And I think that's not the reality, that's not the truth.
You think it's false?
Pojan deklarovat atrajsme.
Yes, they are false statements of someone.
We have no further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, defense counsel. Let me see. Madam Prosecutor, are there still questions left that you would like to ask?
No, Your Honor, so no further questions. Thank you.
And for the victims' counsel?
No, thank you, Your Honor. No, Your Honors, no further questions here.
Okay. Mr. Mehmetal, you have been asked several questions by the parties and the victims' counsel, and now it is the turn of the panel. However, the panel doesn't have any questions anymore after the examination yesterday and today. So that means that we have reached the end of your testimony, Mr. Mehmetai. And I would like to thank you for the efforts you put into giving your testimony, and it will help us to find the truth. So thank you very much. I wish you a safe journey home, And I remind you that you shall not discuss your statement with anybody. Okay? Madame Court Usher, could you please usher the witness out?
Falbir to the CIOA.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you to the panel, to the prosecution, to the defense counsel, and I believe that the truth will out. Thank you. Thank you.
No, Your Honors, nothing further.
And the victim's counsel?
No, thank you, Your Honors.
Defense counsel, is there anything you would
Nothing
like to...
further, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you very much. So at this point, we will resume on Monday, 28th of March at 9:30 with the testimony of witness 300. And I thank the parties and the Victims' Council for their attendance. And I also want to thank especially the interpreters for putting this extra effort in this morning session, and the stenographer and the audiovisual technicians and the security. The hearing is adjourned.
All right.